Namaste to everyone and Hare Krishna. I am your learning friend Dirgha Joshi. Today we have a special guest, Dr. Gitanjali Asampille. She is originally from India. She did a lot of research work and completed her PhD there and moved to America to do her postdoc. Initially, she did postdoc in St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Tennessee. Then she recently, last few years, she moved to NIH, National Institute of Health, which is one of the world largest biomedical research institute. Her research is mostly focused on cancer biology and several other things. She used the nuclear magnetic resonance technology as a spectroscopic tool to do several experimental analysis and other things. She had enormous exposure. She have a lot of peer-reviewed scientific publication in peer journals, and she is trying to explore a deep connecting of science and spirituality. With the background of deep science, she found spiritual science is a way more deeper and bigger where we can realize a perfect life. So being a scientist in same page, I will ask a few questions to her, how this journey happened in her life after completing a PhD, giving a 25, 30 years of dedication in research and other things. Finally, she realized this is incomplete. And more better thing is that once a person is in spiritual background, he or she can have much better understanding about the science also, because our horizon and broadness is totally different and our dimension of thinking is totally different. How we can think of beyond the box and how we can realize a life not as a simple as a anatomical cutting and observation. Life is a different thing. What is the energy dimension? How it happened? How the day-to-day life happened? What is the karma? Why the things happen particularly in life? So today, although we will not may not go much deep in each topic, maybe in future we can arrange that, but we'll try to catch some specific topic, how we can understand the life, how we can understand science, and how we can connect so-called science that have around 200 to 300 history. And if we see the recent 100-year history, this is the science we are mostly talking. 90% of things happen within this 100-year time period, the mostly the day-to-day corporate science. But what's beyond that? People used to depend on the natural resources. They have a harmony, collaboration. Things go in a different way. So let's welcome Dr. Gitanjali today in our forum. And let's start. Welcome, Gitanjali.
Hare Krishna, Namaste everyone. Thank you, Dr. Dirgha, for giving a very nice introduction. And I'm glad. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and share my uh, journey with you all. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Gitanjali. So, can you please tell us how was your growing in child age? What is the first memory you can recall right now? Like first beginning of part of life. If you go much deeper, and what was the first observation?
I think that comes around my timings in early school days. Uh, that is, thank you for the question, because I have had very, very happy childhood and lovely school time. So my early time that I remember at this point is first standard.
Yeah. Anything that you can remember?
Yeah. So I have been a very, very naughty student in my life, like during the whole journey. In fact, until even 10th standard, I have been that kind of a person. But yeah, very early, all that I remember that I have tremendous love for studies, um, as in the process itself. I used to love being in the school. Even on Sundays, I would go and just spend my time in the school. So that was my thing. And fortunately, I have been to three different schools during from like first to 10th standard. My first school has been very close to my house. It was almost like across the road.
Looks exactly same like my journey. Yeah.
Nice. So, and I have been always close to my teacher. So, although I was a friendly child with all the kids, and very, very active, naughty, talkative child, so my teachers would give me assignment to write the names of other kids who are talking
Absent.
so that I will keep quiet. That was
Oh,
direct way of controlling my movements in the class. So yeah, but then overall it was very happy. And then uh, I had a different school from my fourth standard to seventh, which is known as Vidyaniketan School. And these schools were having a additional examination called scholarship examinations, which which did have additional study of three subjects in addition to the regular state syllabus. So
okay.
those subjects were Marathi, which is the language from Maharashtra state where I did my schooling. So in regular school syllabus, you would have the regular syllabus, but this particular examination of scholarship will have additional grammar and
Hmm.
more details about the literature aspect of that language.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, Marathi. Then second was logical thinking. In Marathi word is Buddhimatta was the second subject that we had. Third was mathematics. So again, other than regular
So
syllabus,
how many language you can speak?
I
Hindi, English, Marathi,
English, Telugu.
Telugu.
I understand Kannada because Telugu Kannada are very close, and I happen to live in Karnataka state, where state language is Kannada for 11 years. So I can understand,
Oh,
speak fluently, but I can understand. And I studied Sanskrit as my second language for 5 years in the school. So
oh.
that helps
So
me
you
to
have a very strong foundation to move towards this
with
direction also from the beginning, right? Logical thinking,
has
Sanskrit,
kept me aligned.
right? Thank you, Mataji. Why I asked this question is many people do not think about what will be there. They can remember some sort of like small age memory, but they do not go deep down that what would be my first memory that I started remembering till today's date, right? So if we go 3 year, maybe 5 year or 6 year, we don't know, maybe 2 year we can remember, 2 year memory, 3 year something. So what was beyond before that, mother or father or relative gives a absolute love, but we do not remember that, right? The memory when we start remembering are some good, some bad, a mix. And when we try to leave this body also at end of our life, that time also we lost a lot of memory, right? So most of the major thing, the growth beginning and the last thing we do not realize perfectly. So so-called hormone, emotion, everything happen in the peak period of life, and we forgot the real part of our essence or internal beauty of the personal life that we just completely diluted in the material world to enjoy with everything, right? So it is a good thing to realize our beginning life, how it went, and so that we can plan how it will go in the end phase of life. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing that. So let me try to understand how was your high school, undergraduate, and the why you decided to move towards the PhD or master's program, and particularly the research.
Very nice. So, my undergraduate and PhD, even high school time, uh, I have no plans, absolutely. In fact, throughout my whole career, I never had any plan. Things have happened
So that high school was in English medium or Hindi medium?
until 10th class, it was Marathi medium, and then 11th onwards, I had English medium. So,
So great. How did you guess?
so
Right?
first semester, I had a lot of difficulty, although like I could
Because
hear.
I also did my 10th grade from the government school in Nepali medium. Then in high school, I was completely turned to English medium. And it took several months just to memorize vocabulary from Nepali to English and try to attend exam. Yeah.
This is I understand the same feeling here. I used to sit with dictionary with me in the classes and then search for
Right, right, right.
uh, the first semester I had difficulty, but second semester onwards, my performance completely changed, and that's where many of my lecturers noticed that, and they started paying extra attention. So during summer vacation period, for Maharashtra state, we had in India, Maharashtra state, we had like 12th standard as a board examination.
I see.
So with this recognition, they started giving me more attention in a way and help. So which was very, very helpful to have an access to be having extra classes with all my lecturers during the summer vacations. I would go to their home and then study and come back. So that
Uh,
I did. And later on, yeah, so my reason I ended up being in science stream was my mother. Um, as I said, I never really planned for any of my uh, stages or any decision for that matter. Things have happened and that way it moved forward. So I was naturally immature uh, a lot at that time, but I was very happy child studying. So I was a topper in the class, but I was still crying on the day when we received our 10th uh, results. And I was crying in the rain, sitting outside the class, outside the
oh,
school. Although
even though you top the class, but you are not satisfied with the result what you obtained, right?
I was dissatisfied with what has happened, but all my teachers have come and they were like, "You should not be crying and all that." And they suggested my mother to get admitted her into science stream. She will do well.
Oh,
So that's how my mother herself, although she was not very educated person, but then because my teacher told, she herself went to the college, got help from other students over there, and gave the admission form filled on my name. And she gave me the dissection box, and then I started going for science stream. I did enjoy all the subjects. Initially, there was trouble with the language, but then in time I developed, and teachers helped. This is something very beautiful. Every phase of my educational life, all my teachers have given very, very nice attention, care, and love. So that has always kept me going. And time to time, I did get guidance from them, and that's how I move forward. Uh,
so
and
how did you join the like master's or PhD combined course, right? You did.
so after 12th, for the undergrad study, I have been in Telangana, which is my native state.
Yeah.
Uh, for family reasons, I had to move to Telangana, and there it was like, again, I didn't have a plan, but one of my our study during 12th standard was regarding the DNA repair. So that was my kind of inspiring point to take up a subject which can help me go deeper in that particular aspect. So there, then somehow situations happened, and then I was uh, joined for like microbiology, botany, chemistry course. And during that period, again, naturally being curious towards research. Before this, since it looks like our conversation is going towards understanding the research journey, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. So before this, in 8th and 9th standard, 8th, 9th, 10th, in fact, the school in which I was, that school had selected me for one internship program for junior research fellow in Inter University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics,
So
which
which semester you are in at that time when you are selected for that?
I was in 8th standard.
Uh,
Yeah. So basically, I did mention about the scholarship examination what we had in the school, the
yeah.
junior. Uh, those examinations, after having the study of these three extra subjects, I have uh, been a topper for district level, like Pune district first. So with that recognition, my next school,
Yeah.
like this is how I understand, next school has selected me to go for this research internship during summertime.
Mm,
So, institute called Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics, which is a part of, it is located in Pune University area, uh, founded by Jayanta Narayakar, Dr. Jayanta Narayakar. He is one of the famous
mm.
scientists in India. So they have had this particular program, and I happened to attend it during my summer time. And after that, every second Saturday, we would have science lectures, seminars in there where these selected students can go and attend it. Then I happen to be a representative for the group to take students from our school to the university and
Right.
attend these seminars. So those were couple of not couple of, like multiple time we did have visits. Although at this point when I look back and try remembering, I don't remember anything knowledge wise, but the experience itself was a first introduction for me to be in research environment.
You realize some feeling. How do you feel during that time, right?
That
Yeah.
was the time, like one of the assignment we were given to be in the library and find out from the books. There were like so many books. Just find out the diameter of each planet. That was our exercise. It was a very advanced electronic library. This is back in 2002.
Oh,
So, and as I said, I was very, very naughty student. But then being in that environment and also within that group, I have been only person who came from only Marathi medium background. Most of them were from either semi-English or English medium background.
right, right,
My supervisor uh, could just understand what I'm speaking or explaining in
right,
Marathi
right,
from my study, and I could understand his question. That's how we communicated with each other for that internship period. But yeah, it has been a inspiring uh, beginning, and then later on, plus one, plus two, as I said, all my teachers were good, and I was, by God's grace, I was enjoying the journey of learning about science and knowing more about different processes of life, how it comes. And then that inspired me to go for microbiology, botany, chemistry during my undergrad. And
right,
during that period, I was also getting more inclined and inspired to do experiments. So again, I would skip my vacations. So in Telangana, Dasera Navratri period is one of the big festivals. So
right, right,
typically, all students will go away during that whole week. But I ended up being just being in the laboratory and doing some project which was not officially
wow,
assigned to us.
right, right,
Then later on, some of the students would, because we had walls half with the glass, so some student would observe that and see. They have asked, in fact, like, is this girl crazy or something? Like every time she's in the lab only,
right.
something like that. But eventually, one of our teacher asked me, Gitanjali, what is your future goals? Like how, what is keeping you motivated to be always doing something? Although like I was not sure like what exactly I'm looking for, but I would just try experimenting different things. So after a point, our college principal has given me full permission to have access of any lab that I want to. Although my combination was microbiology, botany, chemistry, but then he did give me access for other laboratories as well, zoology, biology.
Mm,
He said, anything that you would like to do, please go ahead. Like, so many lecturers and students also had, like, what is this girl doing, kind of a thing. Although I was also not knowing, but there was something which always kept me motivated. So,
right,
moment
right.
this teacher, lecturer of mine asked me, what is your goal? So, it was a spontaneous response saying, I want to be in a place where I will have freedom to work for 24 hours and nobody will come and disturb me.
Yeah,
And this was satisfied, although it was just spontaneous statement, but it was satisfied when I joined in ISC. Indian Institute
One
of
of the prestigious institute
of the
for the research and excellence, right? Indian Institute of Science.
science. It is in India.
So you have to get some entrance test to get enrolled on that university, right?
So I did write entrances. So after bachelor study, I was in Hyderabad,
Yeah.
and there various entrances examinations I gave. So because I have studied part of my study in Maharashtra, different state. So I did have this interstate conversion filter for my admissions also. So I ended up
Oh,
being into Osmania University campus in the beginning. And then for some reason, there I had joined for masters in genetics. But then in time, I also felt this environment is not something that I'm looking for. Then I started preparing for extra uh, again classes and different
uh,
content. And during that period, I happened to appear for entrance examination of IIC. I did have option for three institutes. I had got clearance from IIT Madras JAM entrance examination, basically joint admission examination for master's course for all IITs. That was one of it. And there was also NIT Warangal, that institute option for masters I had.
so how long you stay as a graduate student after undergraduate in IISc?
I see I have stayed for 7 years PhD, 3 years masters. The total
So
one
10 year.
10 years
You
I
have totally 10 year of research experience in IISc, mostly focused on cancer, right?
it was combined, I would say, interdisciplinary because my project, when we started, it is a biochemical system of nanotubular structures. So we began with understanding the process of self-assembly. How is it happening? What are the nucleating points in the system which is giving this self-assembly? So that
So
was.
mostly the understanding the process inside the biology, right?
Yes, inside the biology, and we began with that, but we ended up being seeing this tool as a more potent option or opportunity to give for application into delivery and imaging for cancer cases.
So it
So
looks very nice to wrap up like Dr. Gita, like you started from a village, from a Marathi language, slowly learning English and Hindi or other like some Sanskrit, exposing to some astrological related or some outsourced class so that you can expand your horizon, throwing some question and moved in science where you try to learn English more on detail and try to understand the subject, learning vocabulary, then moved to graduate school, attending entrance, converting your what do you say the state-wise degree to the something to enter in the process, and finally you entered in the research field where you spent around 10 years just in to get a PhD degree, right? Then let's share us like at what point do you realize that spirituality should be somewhere in this dimension during practicing science, and how then you did the PhD postdoc in US, now in NIH, and by this time you are already initiated, take the initiation from some guru, and how you realize it is important to take initiation also.
okay. So one correction, I'm preparing for my initiation.
I see. Okay, Mataji.
Thank you. So I'm inspiring from Hizulne Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. However, talking about the journey, how did I get inspired towards spiritual aspect of life in first place was during my bachelor study itself.
Right,
So by tradition or by birth, I come from a Hindu family, regular Hindu
right,
family
right.
in India. So not someone like, it's not that my family has direct a lot of emphasis on scriptural study or anything. It was very regular, basic worshipping on daily basis. But fortunately, I have always been in an environment with my teachers, most of my teachers have been practitioners from Varkari Sampradaya in Maharashtra. So it is also one of,
Warkari?
yeah, it is one of the Vaishnav Sampradaya, comes from Sant Tukaram. And so I have been hearing about bhakti practice, seeing people practicing it, having like doing it so dedicatedly, and only aspect I was connecting and feeling con- m- happy about was kirtan uh, during that
So,
period.
but what was their major vigraha like? What they used to pray?
uh, Rukmini, Panduranga Rukmini, yeah. So that is one
Uh,
of the form of Lord Vishnu, which comes for devotee Pundalik, especially. There is a katha behind it. But yeah,
uh,
that is the Vigraha. And Pandharpur Dham is the place where this Vigraha is there. And they also have the major concept of Nagar Sankirtan. And Wari is another, almost like Parikram, where all devotees go together glorifying God, holy name, and then take the darshan and come back. So that is one of the
mm,
main event of the practice, which devotees do together uh, yearly once. So yeah, with that environment, again, as I said, maturely, I never had opportunity or situations to really ponder on the principles. But then when I was doing my bachelor study, I happened to have this language transition or
right.
learning, because since childhood I was speaking in Marathi, studying there. Although my mother tongue is Telugu, but I had limitation. I couldn't speak in Telugu. So during that period, I happened to associate more with my classmates who were Islamic faith, like people from Islamic faith. So I could converse with them in Hindi. During
Uh,
that period, I also got to learn more about their culture and practice, because one of my friend was Hafiz, who has done Quran study, and we would sit on same bench. So every day I could see people would come and greet her, and then she would also go for preaching sessions. And around the period of Ramzan, she would do Eid Milab session also. So then there was a curiosity, and I wanted to know more. So I started associating, going with her. And at one point, it so happened I was reciting Kalma in a group. Since you are a part of a group and then you recite, that's how I used to follow. Like when you are part of a group, you try to follow the etiquette of the group and then be there. The moment I did, people have taken it as a conversion, that I'm willing to be converted, and then they started congratulating me. So that was the first striking moment for me. Like, how can it be so easy to change a religion just
mm,
by recitation of kalma? Can it be done? That was my first question to myself. Like that incident gave me starting introspecting point. And then in time, then I it was like, if I say within a year, same year, I also happened to have a situation where I had to stay in one of my relatives' home. So my family comes with combined faith. Like we also have part of my family practicing Christianity. So the relatives' place where I lived, they are my uncles. In fact, he is also one of the uh, preacher, as in he does preach and takes care of multiple churches in Hyderabad. He does have his
oh,
YouTube channel and things like that. So then, while being there for a month, again I was trying to be part of the group and part of the prayers and follow the whole service time and everything. Then he started sharing the principles, and kind of again, any person who is taking spiritual life seriously and dedicating it, after a point they want to share it with others, because there is something beautiful that they experience, right? So that
yeah,
sharing also he started doing with me. And then I was like, okay, if I say myself as a Hindu, what do I know about my practice?
right.
So then onwards, it was more curiosity based exploration. Then I ended up being into multiple spiritual organizations in India. I started with this um, mood, I started first with there was a workshop in our university. At that time, I was in Osmania University campus, and there was a workshop of past life regression therapy by Dr. Hari.
Past life regression therapy.
Regression therapy. So then in that workshop, one of the experience I was like, a couple of people have had their past life regression in the session itself. Then I was like, how is it possible? Like when we all of us are in same place and same doctor is giving instructions are same for everyone. So what is that making it different for each person? Then how is the life experience is varying for each person on a bigger scale if we try to understand?
Right, right.
All of us are being exposed to the same country environment.
Same environment mostly, sometimes in same
What
class
is
with
this
same teacher,
internal
right?
factor which is giving this experience differently, and why is it so? So that was one striking point. And then in the beginning, I did practice pyramid meditation, uh, and which did help me to do better in my studies, especially in the entrance examinations. And parallelly, I was also going for Kirtan events with Satyasai Institute. So I l- loved their discipline, the group etiquettes, and the cleanliness, and then wonderful devotional vibration during whole Kirtan events. And then that inspired me to be with one of my friend who was serving there for a month. Then I ended up spending 2 days of time at the ashram in Puttaparthi ashram just to observe and see how it is and what is it about, that kind of a thing. And then later on, when I came to Bangalore, joined in ISC Bangalore campus. Um, Initially, I did attended some of the Bhagavad Gita classes given by ISKCON devotees on campus on uh, Sunday.
Uh,
However, while listening to the classes in the beginning, I always felt, okay, these are like key knowledge points I've always already studied in my school time, because during school prayers time also we were given the um, knowledge points from Bhavartha Deepika, which comes from again the Varkari Sampradaya. It is a Marathi commentary given by Sant Jnaneshwar on Bhagavad Gita. So the again the principle, the points were very same. So my first impression while attending the classes from ISKCON devotees was same. And I would say I was more into mode of passion. So I was looking for something to get engaged in as a experience wise. Then I ended up being into a Kriya Yoga practice with one of the institute in India, Art of Living. And while doing the practice, I did learn Sudarshan Kriya. I tried practicing in the group during the program, and later on, while work practicing as an individual daily, I was failing to build a discipline. So after a point, I also realized just listening to the classes or going to the places and exploring and seeing, observing is not going to help me. If I want a
mm,
spiritual experience and really understand, then I need to develop a discipline on daily basis and
right.
take up some practice. So I also realized that I can't do it alone. I need a sangha. Then I was seeing which is the group accessible right now for me to do such practice. So that was my situation where I could see these art of living friends of mine are there, and I can be in a group and do the practices. So then I ended up doing multiple courses with the organization. And whenever it was the point of uh, studying or reading Bhagavad Gita, again, everything was coming back, connecting to the Bhagavad Gita. Then listening to it, there was always a sense of something is missing, something is missing. What is it? I don't know. So it continued, and I was putting my effort understanding it. And in between the period, we did have a temple, ISKCON Bangalore, close to our campus, IISc Bangalore. So we would visit regularly. And interestingly, one of the area close to our campus was called Temple Street.
Oh,
That's like full of temples and very beautiful, like 400 years old temples in that particular location. So the location itself was really nice to go on. So I have always felt happy about the festive environment, um, the singing, glorifying the God, again, the kirtan aspect of the devotional life. And there used to be some striking energy which I never understood. So I was seeking for that, like what is it and how can I connect and practice it with guidance. But however, the situations were never like I received one-to-one guidance. So that aspect fulfilled uh, when I to came to US during pandemic time, and it was the second wave of COVID when I lost my mother. My mother passed away, and after her departure, I was in a situation to uh, like I couldn't travel to see my family at that point. So
mm,
uh, only thing I could do is to pray for her soul. And the day when it happened, also I was praying that whatever is good for the soul and what God thinks is correct, let that happen. Because the situation was she was kept in ICU at last moment. And although we all hanker on, we want our beloved person in the family, but at the same time, at the soul level, what is good for the soul, we don't know. So
right.
I was trying to pray that way. However, what can be the best prayer for my mother? I didn't know at that point. So around that time, I was into chanting practice of Panchakshari mantra Om Namah Shivaya. So I did that on the day of departure. And later on, for a couple of days, I was directionless, basically. So then one of my senior, whose name is Krishna Arjuna, who came in contact and shared, saying, would you like to read Bhagavad Gita together? Then we started reading Bhagavad Gita, and in time, I also got connected to my spiritual mentor, who is His Grace Siddhahari Prabhu, who is uh, also a disciple of His Holiness Chapataka Swami Maharaj, currently serving at ISKCON Ypsilanti. And Prabhuji is a data scientist by uh, profession, and he has also written book comparing the modern science findings about the cosmology and how these findings are correlating with the facts given in the Srimad Bhagavatam.
His name is Krishna Arjuna.
Krishna Arjuna was the starting devotee who connected me to my spiritual mentor. His name is Siddharth Chabra, is the legal name. Spiritual name is His Grace Siddhahari Prabhu.
Uh,
Yeah. So then, after starting hearing the classes on Bhagavad Gita, in time, around sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna explains the yoga ladder very beautifully. And there is a clear demarcation how Bhakti Yoga is the topmost and the highway for
Final.
going back to the spiritual world. And then it made a lot of clarity and conviction for me to, you know, whatever that I was seeking for, it started giving a firm uh, relief, I would say, that okay, here is a thing to be followed. But yes, it is a unlimited dimension of reality and a lot more to explore and understand and know. But then something very fundamental and beautiful coming from Bhagavad Gita is to knowing our fundamental identity uh, as a being, that is as a soul, because throughout our life we do play different roles. We do perform in various functions depending on the situations and keep accumulating labels on ourselves, and we forget what is the real purpose of our life. So,
Right.
Srila Prabhupada, in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita, which is Bhagavad Gita as it is copy, I have it
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
I was carrying this book for 10 years, Prabhuji, but I had never opened it myself.
Right.
It was my
I
mother.
also received Bhagavad Gita, the written by the Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada in 2011. Then I read a couple of times, but I read with some sort of ego that I should memorize some sloka, discuss with people, or do something. Never realized in deep or something. And we also grown up in Hindu family, so we thought, yeah, we know most of the things, right? So we ignore, and ultimately we realize that we don't know anything because we didn't realize it in deep and intentionally how it works.
Yeah.
Initially, I thought it was just when Krishna told Arjuna to do something. It like why he's trying to suppress him, why he's pushing, why it is like he want to be a superior. Like that kind of thought used to come on my mind.
It's
Now I realize the human mind is not that much easy to just by convincing let's do like this, right? Some sort of without devotion, no one can reach a kind of dimension. So please, it would be helpful to understand us how should we categorize this physical body, subtle body, mind, energy, soul, whatever we say, karma, and how we can categorize for layman who is not in the spiritual world, but he want to understand what is this biology because you know whole biology. You studied 10-year PhD on biology later on, so you know the cutting edge biology, anatomy, how it works, but the energy inside this biology, how it resides, and what is cosmic intelligence, how this body communicate with the cosmic intelligence, what are our like dream and perspective, how the thought process generated. Can you share something like in a simple way so we can understand?
a very simple thing. If we see how is our body alive, the moment a person is died or dead, it is the breath which stops, clinically speaking.
Right,
So, so we say the one of the practice of pranayama, where breath is considered as a tool to elevate our life experience by increasing the prana and sattva, right?
right,
So, so starting from there, we can see our there are levels of our existence as a being. Very gross level is having being in this physical body, where we there is a lot of awareness nowadays on the mm, coming into mode of goodness by taking care of your diet, taking care of exercise, taking care of your environment, clean air, visiting to the natural places, and then retreat in natural environment, many other tools. But what is lacking there is nobody really talks about taking care of the soul. Why do we have to take care of the soul? So before coming there, if one understands the level of existence, then it coming from the Bhagavad Gita, again, beyond our body, the mind is the one which is controlling the bodily senses, right? The bodily senses are the one which are helping us to gain the experience in our life, many ways. And those are the senses which are also responsible to disturb the balance of our internal body. So
right,
cosmically, the entire biology, which is supposed to be going smoothly in all its prospect, but things starts getting polluted and contaminated in imbalanced way, such that it develops into a disease. So that is one of the sign of cancer also. So
right.
cancer is the uncontrolled growth of
Uncontrolled growth, right? Yeah,
issue. So that is happening because somewhere metabolically that balance equilibrium is broken.
disrupt. Yeah,
There can be various reasons. Some of it can come as a genetic cause with mutations of certain genes, and some of it also can as an external factor, which is inducing from your lifestyle and food that one takes. So, however, this is to be at bodily level, but what is going inside the body is the life force. And what is that life force? Is the soul, basically. The soul is our innermost and subtlest existence of a being, which is the most powerful one. So, if we start from the gross bodily level, which is the physical body, then comes the breath, It is a subtler aspect of ourself which is powerful than the body, because as you control your breath, one can also control the emotion of being. And then from the breath, if we go above, it comes the mind. From mind, above mind comes the intelligence. And the above intelligence is the soul. So Bhakti Yoga is also called as Buddhi Yoga. So essentially, Krishna is instructing us to use the intelligence to make most of your life. And as you strike it very beautifully in the beginning, how this beginning of the life and end of the life is the missing point. We don't pay much attention, or we don't even, it doesn't even come into our memory for that matter. Uh, and that's how the life is defined, in fact. However, we were talking about the existence level, and why is it important to connect to our soul level is because many of people don't even believe in process of reincarnation.
Right.
But then as per Bhagavad Gita, it is very clear. Krishna is giving,
That not believing is the major problem of the world, because they think this is the final life. Let's enjoy whatever you want to do. Let's enjoy just as a part of bhog, right?
it is a basic tendency is escapism. They don't really want to take the challenge of understanding or even facing the death, basically. But it is a reality of our life.
Right.
Some point or the other, we are going to die. So many of them just fear away knowing or talking about death. Secondly, many of them even be fearful to accept that this is a process which is going to be there with each one of the family members for them. In fact, for me, that was the process of for my mother, which gave me more insight of understanding how the basic rituals of praying tributes or praying for the soul is important or helpful for the soul to go for next journey.
Right.
Why do we even have to think about the next journey? If one starts, then it can also come to that level. And then if it is the next journey, then what is the final freedom of a soul?
From journey, yeah, out from this circle, right?
And that's where then Bhagavad Gita gave more help for those questions, especially the introduction itself from Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita talks about 5 subject matters: Jivatma, the soul living entity,
Right.
Ishvara, time, karma, and also Prakriti.
Yeah.
When he talks about the Prakriti, he also spoke about the modes of goodness. So Lord
Right.
Krishna is giving nice elaboration on the how Sattva, Rajas, Tamas are influencing for each one of us for daily life, and what is the connection between Jivatma, a living entity, a soul,
And
with
Paramatma.
the Paramatma, with the Supreme Lord, Supreme Godhead. So Lord Krishna is the Supreme Godhead. And how do we understand that? Then one can always go into the many scriptural references. One of it is coming from Brahma Samhita, where Lord Brahma himself is praising God. Ishvara, Parma, Krishna, Satchit,
Sachitananda Vigraha.
Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karana. So if you want to know why, where, how, and who, then as you go on and uncovering each layer of the cosmic existence, then the starting point is basically Lord Krishna from Golok Vrindavan. And all of these details are given in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, how 3 different forms of Vishnu, as a Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Karnodakshaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, is coming at each level and manifesting into the Brahmanda or physical world. Uh,
Yeah.
and then how those life forces, one of it is also protecting us, guiding us within, knowing as Paramatma, the super soul, which is sitting at our
Next to the
heart
Atma.
along with the soul.
Yeah.
So, mm, Yeah, I mean, there are more details. I'm not sure if I have put that rightly in
Yeah,
the.
I think it will help a lot to understand. I have little confusion, like
Yes.
we are individuals, but our body also holds so many soul inside our body because we have around 2 kilogram of microbacterium in our,
Yes.
right?
Like
And
another.
several the skin surface area surrounded with a lot of bacteria, virus, everything around. So at some point of life, what do you think? There is only communication between those physical body and our body because science is proving that your microbacterium condition are good, then your brain thinking will be good. It is somehow like changing your thought process and other thing. So how we should connect those biology to biology with the atmic concept?
Hmm.
Because we only because Shastra said that being a human is the you are blessed that this is the only body where you can do pray and think of the like liberation from this whole process, but they don't, right? So
So, yeah. So, as Shastra say, human is the only advanced form of consciousness, basically. Out of 84 lakhs of species,
right,
which includes these microorganism and this, basically you're talking about the cellular level. Multicellular organization is the human body. So, how do we understand the source of energy or source of life force coming for these cells also from our soul as a
right,
human uh, form? So that's the universal structure. And Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita also says, like, all living entities are eternal part and parcel of my.
right,
Uh,
right,
his being spiritual father is giving that nature also in a minute quantity. So we do have those qualities, philosophically speaking, though. But then scientifically, how do we understand? In order to have functional machine ongoing anytime for given any circumstances, you need to have energy fuel going in, right?
right,
So only if the fuel is going correctly in right channel, only then the instrument will be functioning well. Otherwise, it will not. So if we are saying our bodily microbes are helping us to be healthy or to have a right positive thinking, so even to have such microflora alive within the system, it is the human who is making decision to take certain food in a right
that's
way.
right. Yeah, yeah, now we came to the chapter why the selecting food is important, right?
Yes. So again, if we talk from the perspective of the Ayurveda, it always recommends to have a food higher in sattva level. So
Right,
that one sattva, the mode of goodness is more, and that will elevate your consciousness level or the thinking ability, in fact, for that matter. Intelligence is also favored nicely when one has the suitable food within the system. And as per Bhagavad Gita, even it talks about food cooked within 3 hours. If it is consumed, then only one receives the necessary sattva levels. However, our lifestyles are very much disturbed, and most of the time people who like me who have lived major life of uh, uh, major time of the life in the hostel structure.
right. Let's make clear like so it would be easier to understand because scientists divide food majorly as an energy source: protein, lipid, carbohydrate, right? Everything they divide mostly in these three categories. There may be micronutrient or something as a secondary metabolite, drug-related property, but mostly as an energy source, protein, carbohydrate, lipid.
Yes.
So based on this protein, carbohydrate, lipid, where does satoguni, rajoguni, tamoguni nature of food came?
Okay. So that's always a combination of all three, Prabhu. Like we cannot say like it is only the carbohydrates which will be more sattva-guni or tamoguni or
No, no, I am saying all food have those kind of thing. But what is the determining factor that say this food is sataguni, this is tamoguni, this is rajaguni like? Is
Okay.
this the secondary metabolite that stimulate our brain system
Mhm.
so that we consider it like garlic or caffeine, something, right? We
Okay,
categorize those.
that way, saying then definitely the food ingredients which are generating more of secondary metabolites are giving the better effect for the thinking ability of the individual. And in that, uh, onion and garlic, specifically speaking, for that matter, even the meat eating is
Yeah,
more of fatty content, and some of them promote or even uh, implement or adapt eating meat for the protein source.
right,
But however, the our digestive system, which is for the human, naturally made to digest the food which is coming from the soluble protein.
plant-related source. Yeah,
Yes. So plant related waste, because the again the prana level in those food, especially if it is like freshly chopped, harvested vegetables from the garden, then you yourself feel the difference, Prabhu. Like even having the minimal quantity of the food can give you sufficient amount of
right,
energy,
right, right. Very good realization. I also have, yeah,
because otherwise if you have the processed and stored refrigerated food, no matter how much you eat, you don't feel same active energy levels, or mm, uh, what to say, same positivity for that
yeah,
matter.
yeah,
And I have been a non-veg eater before in my life, and it took me 2.5 years to like change from that diet to this diet. I did it very systematically. Although around that time, as I said, I was practicing Kriya Yoga, and one of the realization I had, like, no matter how much I try other things best, unless I change my diet, I will not be able to build the discipline.
right.
So with that, I had taken like different steps and came to a point. Now there is no distraction at all, successfully by God's grace. Mhm. I try my best to uh, honor prasadam, and then uh, offer bhoga, and then honor prasadam.
Right.
Uh, yeah. So why is that important? Again, Bhagavad Gita 3.13, Krishna clearly explains how the food which is not offered or which is not sanctified will always cause us to incur the sins by the activity of eating. So eating is our one of the fundamental activity for us to maintain this body, physical
Right.
body. And unless we have done any kind of eating, body will not get enough energy.
And we have only control up to this level. Once food go down, we do not have any control. Body will digest by its own way, right?
Right. So, and if like there are again different category of people, there are some people who take utmost care to prepare their food very, very nicely. Even right about making a right choice to get the right food content inside the house. So, in spite of doing all that, we are going to have the sins, uh, speaking, unless if it is not offered to the God. So, scientifically, how does it make sense? Uh, I don't know. But then, as in, how do we define sin?
It's a way of sanitization, maybe a food sanitization by the spiritual perspective.
Sanitization just covers of one aspect, but then something that we receive is much more potent and powerful than whatever we understand within the.
No, no, I am also, yeah, trying to refer that like be in a physical material world and scientific, we say sanitization and other thing that we completely do perfectly with chemicals, something processing.
Yes,
But we are thinking sanitization of sin from the
yes,
higher energy, right?
exactly. Like, how do we understand the sin aspect?
Right.
That again has to relate with the experience
That's
of.
why earlier I try to divide the food as a source of energy. Even meat also have some sort of something. People are eating that. So
So if you
mostly we
just
think of the cruelty or the sense of humanity their life, we are giving pain to them. That is a tamasic nature, right? We cannot feel good. But some people, due to high level of ignorance, they do not think anything and they just eat as a food. So at some point, while I was in South Korea, I asked my lab member, while you are eating chicken, do you remember anything about the like hen, something? They say, not at all, because it doesn't came on their mind. So it's only came in their plate as a source of food. So sometimes I do not understand, does it really affect them or it's part of some tamasic nature? Very difficult to understand the chain, right?
Yes, yes, it is. In fact, I have some content. Recently, His Holiness Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Swami, he has given some insight on this. Let me pull up that slide quickly. So basically, if we when we understand our body as just a combination or bag of chemicals, then we look at our food as just as the
Energy
nutrient,
source.
energy source. But it is not just that. Our body also has. How do we define intelligence of human being? Do you think it is just coming from the food? What do you think, Prabhu?
It's very complex.
It is complex, but then still, like I would like to hear your
Food control a lot of thought. I think so. I agree with that. Yeah.
yes,
Because if you give alcohol to someone, his nature will be completely different. We can taste with everything. If you give caffeine, if you give the some sour taste or spices or bitterness, everyone have different reaction. Their body react different in a body level. So thinking level also it change. When I used to eat like what should I say, garlic or onion something. I used to have a lot of sweating something and smell from the body and some unstable of thought, a lot of thought process, very unstabilized thought. I
yeah,
think it helped a lot me once I quit that eating,
yes,
my
yes.
personal observation.
Yes. So scientific kind of recommendation or understanding so far for the body is said to be 65% of oxygen, 18% of carbon, 10% of hydrogen, 3% of nitrogen. Basically, the different percentile of each element. However, if we think that way, then take up the cost of all these elements together.
Right,
How much will that be? Will that be even less than $100? And is a human being cost equivalent to that? No, absolutely
no,
no. We are capable of many other things. And from how do we develop those abilities? How is it coming? How is
right.
that intelligence built within our system?
Highly sophisticated
Mm.
instrument in this planet, right, that we're facing every day.
Yes,
And most of the animal creatures are not suffering with depression, anxiety thing. God gives us this brain of few gram, and it is the only thing creating beauty, happiness, everything, right? Everyone have almost same.
yes. And one of the two prominent abilities that human have is to speak and think.
Right.
These two are highly utilized when you develop a right way of living, as in
With higher
more
consciousness.
higher consciousness, more into mode of goodness. So I'm taking personally from our today's conversation is how to define sin in scientific way. But yeah, taking
Yeah.
that homework. However, coming back here, so food is an important aspect, and Ayurveda speaks onion and garlic as a rajasic uh, entity or food items. So, what do we mean by rajasic or tamasic? How do we understand that? What is sattva, rajas, tamas, or talking about the modes, mode of goodness and uh,
Satoguni is a thing that keeps you pleasing, more lighter, more happier, more relaxing way, no defensive way, like a different level of pleasingness, which who try to not to disturb anything, just
we,
respect everything, a kind of.
we,
Rajasic nature is a sort of defensiveness, how aggression, something, rigorness, something more focused intentionally to do. Tamasic nature is mostly just focused on taste and enjoyment, satisfying senses, mostly.
overall, broader perspective, what are the contribution made by these? Uh,
You are referring
segments?
the consequences happening because
Yes,
of this,
yes,
right?
yeah, consequences, and what are the contributions of these type of tendencies in the people? The mode of goodness is something, the people who are in mode of goodness, they are contributing to take this world ahead
Right,
for
right.
future,
More
uh,
peaceful, more,
positive,
yeah,
more peaceful, more positive prospect or outcomes of
and maintain a perfect ecosystem which should not harm each other, right, for the survival.
living in harmony with
Right,
all living entities. So that is something naturally taken care when person is in mode of goodness. And then when it is passion, although some of our daily activities, we need all three of them, by the way. I mean, to live,
right.
we do need three of them, but having right proportion of all three is also something important. So how do we understand that? So that pretty much come at the mind level. Just try sitting alone and understand the thoughts that are coming in your own mind. That also can kind of gives an idea of what is our tendency towards, whether it is
Right.
mode of goodness or passion or ignorance. Person in mode of passion cannot really sit for 5 minutes peacefully and even think about it.
Right.
All he is driven by activity. He wants to do, he wants to contribute, and there is no end. Like after this, after this, after this, and then that's how human desires are also many a time. But then passion, a person in passion, a mode of passion will be driven more towards that of accumulating things, gaining more. And that sort of at one point definitely creates the disturbance for the society. However, the mode of ignorance people end up being into a criminal activities because they tend to lose their own clarity about the life, what they need, and then human mind can become evil very easily if it is not rightly engaged in activities for uh, anything that you do for your livelihood. It can be combining both personal and professional life.
Right.
Then if there is not right motivation in mind, then things can always go wrong. So that energy or that input to be in a positive mindset and with wonderful energy levels can come only from the mode of goodness, where having choosing a right food source is also one of the important decision that we need for life.
I hope this will help a lot us to understand in detail why we should select the food, what we should eat, and careful in eating food. Because just not only the like a sato, rajo, or tamoguni nature of the food, but if we think of the disease, how it is causing the whole world suffered because of the food, right? The long food chain unmaintained properly or long something,
It's
even
disturbing
some last
system.
time there was a big discussion how the coronavirus outbreak, how the new virus outbreak, how the bird flu, swine flu, another flu, everything, most of our diseases are related with the meat,
Yes.
their handling, the animal cruelty, how we are handling. And I was reading some literature and I found that we kill animal every year 10 times more than the population of people in this planet every year. So one person is eating 10 more animal for his satisfaction. So most of them are vegetarian. Some
What is
people
the
still
outcome? What is the outcome? Does he really getting satisfied with that food? No.
not at all, right? Not at all. And sometimes people comment that the vegetarian life, they do not have something vitamin problem, something. But everyone are perfectly living. We are the example, right? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, yeah. It is,
So
those are just misconception, especially present younger generations have come up with this lot of taglines saying, for protein, I eat chicken.
right. There is a one book, the Higher Taste, and some with a recipe published by the ISKCON Society. Yeah, the Higher Taste something. I read that they mention several things scientifically, the how it is causing some disease, how we can create harmony, something, everything. Yeah,
Right. and how the sattvic food can give more positive drive to live your daily life.
Right. So, like, although we covered several things, like if we try to categorize from the wake up to sleep, so based on your observation, what should be the lifestyle step, like every morning what we should do, daytime what we should do, and before sleep what we should do?
This is something I'm also learning from senior teachers in our tradition. So, very first thing should be to connect to the life source that we are getting from. So, that is the higher realm. And since this group is con group, I can say all energy, all strength, all happiness, everything that we have is coming from Lord Krishna. So the morning hour should be used as a practice to connect to Him. And then what is the practice to be adopted? That is already given by Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, uh, to chant the holy name. And the scriptural reference for it is coming from, uh, I'm forgetting the reference though, but
For what, mother?
Harer Nama Kevalam Kalau Nasteva 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 Gatiranyata. So basically, the recommendation for Kali Yuga is to do the
Chant
morning
Harinam. Yeah.
chant. So, very first thing is recommended to do is to be in meditation and allow that time to connect with.
Because in other like Treta Yuga, Satya Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, they have to do meditate several years, 100 years, still they can. But there is only benefit of this Kali Yuga, just chant the Harinam, right?
Yeah. So the reference I remember now, it is coming from Kali Santanar Upanishad. And as you said rightly, yes, Satyuga had the recommendation for meditation practice where people would even do, those human beings had the capacity to do meditation for such long period of time, 10,000 years.
Right.
Kali Yuga lifetime is not such big, it is short. Dwapar Yuga had the practice of deity worshipping. So, for given standards, we cannot really adopt that very quickly. We need certain level of purification to be in deity worshipping also. And Treta Yuga, it was the practice of yajna, doing the
Yeah.
fire. So again, there are, if we understand the right set of rules and regulations to be performing
To
such
sit in a yagya, perform yagya, yeah.
uh, it is a great, great, great austerity, and we are not very much facilitated with those capabilities in Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga, the simplest one is to chant the holy name. So that is the first recommendation to do in the morning. Uh, Depending on whichever level one is, starting with one single round, doing it nicely, uh, is something also a beautiful start. And then with time, you are already connected to Dirghaji here. So one can seek the guidance from seniors and then improve on doing the rounds and chanting more nicely and more of rounds. So recommended rounds are 16 as per Srila Prabhupada. But yes, depending on one who can do how much, accordingly one can take
But
up
the
that.
issue is like most of the people think those mantras just as a simple word, simple day-to-day words. How at what point they would be able to realize this is not a simple word?
So the even the word
Although
it,
you already referred some quote back to the Upanishad, yeah.
so the word mantra itself says manasa tarayate iti mantra. So
Yeah.
the one which controls the mind, the one which controls your thoughts, basically thoughts are coming. It is also said like in a minute we go through like many thousands of thoughts. I think more than 60,000 thoughts or something. And how many of them really we understand that we are thinking in such a way? We, as a human in our conscious also, we don't understand that way. However, mantra has a power to do that for us. because our ability is also limited that way to
right.
understand our thoughts, how many thoughts we have, and how many of them we really process and implement in our action or accept
And
in.
about this limitation, people used to sometimes say like they say those 21st century people are more advanced, they have more intelligence, they are highly developed now, and they categorize 5,000 year, 10,000 or millions year ago. People also came from the animal, they slowly develop intelligence. Although Shastra completely declined this thing, and we believe in the parallel existence of every creature and everything. But how we can explain like those our ancestors who lived in a very much like different kind of lifestyle, not like those telephone or anything, but they also have a perfect level of communication at the level of super consciousness level, right? They used to do sankalpa or something thinking they too, but those modern people do not believe easily. So how should we convince them? What do you think? Like,
There is
because
this.
they try to say that our ancestors are not much advanced like us, they used to say, but when we study our literature and shastra, it's beyond our imagination, right? We cannot think them as just as ordinary person.
Yes, yes. So, how do we receive the knowledge? How do we know what we know? Basically, that's the question. So, there is this stream of science which studies that epistemology is the branch, and so there are the both the processes, ascending and descending. So, some of the understanding that we develop in life is through empirical understanding, performing experiments, having evidences, and then we derive certain conclusion and say so and so is the fact. That's how
Yeah,
we study science in our life, right? We
right, right,
get the science books is the compilation of all such kind of findings from research experiments. But however, it is within our limitation as the human being, and also to the level how much we understand that we can do. That itself is limited. It is said like our capacity we can't understand. We have tremendous potential to really create a lot of beautiful things. But how much do we really tap upon that creativity within us? Can we do it alone, or do we need some external guidance or help for it? So the best help is to connecting back to the creator who has created that within you. The very first connection, and that's
right.
why it's recommended to do it in very first thing in the morning whenever you are starting your day. And ideal recommendation is to do it in Brahma Muhurta. Again,
Yeah,
what is the quality of Brahma Muhurta? That is something experiential. No words can explain it. When we arise at that time and do the practice, you see the experience itself is very elevated. The environment is so peaceful, calm. You don't have many distractions. And interestingly, the material nature, the nature of life is itself is divided such. The morning hours until 7:38, you have mode of goodness, more of sattva in the air.
yeah.
So your experience is also uh, influenced with that energy,
Surrounding, right,
right? And then after 8 to until evening sunset timing, you have mode of goodness, sorry, mode of passion.
right.
That's why all activities start, people start traveling, going to the work and doing whatever needed to do for your livelihood is been done. And then evening time is the
Mode of
prominent.
ignorance started, yeah.
So slowly your activities gets slowing down. So that's the one thing. What was the point we were talking? I think I
Yeah, this
distracted.
is the thing, like how we should understand this whole process, how the technically like how those modern people should trust that our ancestors are not weaker than you as an intellect way.
Very nice. Yeah, intellect wise, they were far better. Physical strength wise, they were far better.
Yes,
Quality of life, what they had is very, very better because the quality of relations they held in their life was very, very better. See, ultimately, most of our life is like time is taken by the profession that we are engaged in. But
right.
however, the end impression that you leave in this world is from the relations that you maintain for your life. Nobody will remember what you have done, but people will remember how you have done that.
Right, right.
Right? So those relations are the real treasure of our life. So how do we develop different qualities to be able to have a quality relations in our life? That's where the value education comes into picture. And none of our texts, education texts in present format teach us any of these um values.
Yeah,
And value educations will be can be adapted directly from the scriptures, but again, which scriptures to be taken as a standard and which one to believe is individual question. However, people who are already having some connection to ISKCON, we recommend to have Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and there are, for the beginners, there are so many Srila Prabhupada's small books. And if someone is coming from scientific background or scientific acumen, then Science of Self-Realization is one of the nicer book to start with, or Perfect Questions and Perfect
perfect
Answers,
answer.
another beautiful book.
Beyond death.
Yes, Beyond Death is a very, very wonderful one. Whoever has questions about the reincarnation, what is transmigration, how is
Yeah,
soul is transferring from one body form to other body form, the everything is very nicely discussed. And also, if one is inclined towards philosophy nicely to understand, then Chaitanya Charitamrita is the recommended the textbook, which is elaborating on life and teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and showing us how to practice bhakti in our life by God Himself. So that's something uh, I think take home
yeah,
for.
yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all. We are already completed 1 hour. Before leaving this discussion, it would be better to address like Dr. Gita is now leading NIH Interfaith Center. I already told NIH is one of the world's largest biomedical research center, and there is one clinical center where she is closely working. So within this center, there is a chapel area where she is trying to coordinate, connect people with our Asian or some origin so that how we can connect. And finally, like as a part of ISKCON initiated some senior devotee which connected those, and now she is trying to connect other people, trying to meditate with mantra meditation, trying to learn other faith meditation, how they do. So how about try to explain few things those audience can hear those and get benefited, how we are working for
Thank
those
you,
approach.
Prabhu, for bringing this up. In fact, this is also connecting to the discussion that we started with
Right.
mantra. So, we all hear about different types of meditations that do exist. So, sound meditation is one of the known meditation technique where we all understand the impact of sound on our brain, because everybody agrees to the point that brain is the faculty which controls the senses within our body at the clinical level. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And the mind is the faculty which is controlling the decision making within the system, right?
Right.
And intellect is the one which is actually giving the instruction or discriminating uh, the decisions, which one to take and which one not to. So ultimately, if one wants to be better or effective in their life, it has to do with the intelligence. That's
Right.
where the Buddhi Yoga practice
Buddhi.
comes into the picture. And then when we say Buddhi Yoga, why does it has to do so much with the chanting process?
If we ultimately have to use our buddhi, right,
Yeah. So how does chanting helps the Buddhi to be in
to
place?
perform.
Yeah. So then basically when we chant this particular mantra, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, there are three sounds: Hare, Krishna, and Rama.
Yeah.
Hare is referred to the energy of the Lord. Krishna is referred to the word. Krishna means Karshati iti Krishna. So Karsha
All
is the part of
attractive.
word Akarshan, meaning attractive. So all attractive is Krishna. Why is he so attractive? How do we understand that aspect? All of us are attracted to what in our life? What are we striving for? Where are we heading our life to? All of us are either attracted to the power, money,
Yeah.
beauty, or knowledge, renunciation, fame.
Yeah.
All of these are the main prominent areas or factors in our life which are kind of a driving force for us to do activities and do
Right.
whatever that we are doing. So Krishna is the best in all these attributes, all six attributes. And that's why his name is there in the mantra. And then Ram is the pleasure reservoir of,
Ramante.
yes, Ramante. Word comes from there. So it is the reservoir of all pleasures in our life. So when we recite or chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it is 16 words combined together, and then all three sounds are repeated in a certain way, in certain permutation and combination, so that as we chant, it also helps our consciousness to get more and more clear, more and more purified. How do we understand it? There are research paper available. People are studying in different ways and trying understanding the impact of this mantra chanting on the brain. If anybody wants, I can give the references for that also. Uh, Compared to other meditation processes, how chanting is more impactful. So there is comparison given for towards health professionals also. However, as this is more to do with experience. For that matter, I would say any meditation practice is to about practicing it more than knowing it. It is something has to go with the practice. So even if you try learning about it, knowing about it, always try to do it along with the chanting. So even people who are motivated to understand knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, please do it with the chanting. That helps a lot. It gives you clarity of mind to understand the message of Krishna given in Bhagavad Gita also. And preferably, it is also recommended to do it in the group with devotees. Then the interpretation of the text also comes nicely.
Right.
So
With the core discussion. Yeah.
coming back to the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, as we chant, the chanting process itself is helping us to get our heart purified, the consciousness purified, and that reflects in your all physical, mental, and emotional being. So this is to be experienced more.
Yeah.
And I think in the beginning there was some point which I
No, I just
yeah,
ask about our NIH Interfaith Center,
yes,
how it
yes.
is working.
Before coming to that, one thing for the qualification of a person to study Bhagavad Gita, one of the say which I heard recently was, who can be a real student of Bhagavad Gita, or a right student, or who can receive the knowledge very nicely, is to be coming with an experience where you are fully miserable. I mean, sometimes the misery or suffering with confusion when it is there, because the point of confusion brings the beauty of not relying on your mind. Otherwise, we are always about our own mind. Or this is what I think, this is what I think. Then we are not in receiving mode to receive the real knowledge within ourselves. Only when one goes through the phases of life where everything is like perturbed, you don't understand why you are living, there is an existential crisis, you don't understand what should be the future. And then
Right, right,
yeah, so this is one of the said to be the qualification, but however, it is also a aspect to go into more of introspection and understand really what is there. Because sometimes externally everything seems very nice. Okay, happy, I'm coming, going. I'm getting three times food nicely. I have nice clothes to wear. I can walk. I can commute to people. Everything is good. So, but then internally, what is your world really doing? Are you feeling satisfied? Are you feeling happy? What is your thing to do. So that introspection can bring to a nice point. So yeah, coming to the interfaith meditation, this is something came up at a workplace, and we are grateful to be at a clinical center. Uh, is one of the department at NIH. I work for NCI, and then clinical center has a department called spiritual care department, who are holding this session of interfaith meditation because
Mm.
they are also focusing on the patient care. All the patients who come for treatment to the clinical center at certain, so this is, as I said, what is the qualification of understanding Bhagavad Gita is the situations in our life when we feel completely helpless. So these are the situations for some of the patients where they are completely helpless, where medical science is basically not giving them enough help. And those are the points when people are also, patients are also in need of spiritual care.
Right.
That's why the spiritual care department has come. And
Beside having everything, people feel empty, lonely, right?
understand, NIH is the one of the topmost institute of human health.
Right.
And uh, so everybody understand, like we cannot really have control over our life.
Right.
At one point, we do need this care, this spiritual healing within us. And that healing, uh, providing such care is the agenda of this department. And we are trying to be part of it because all of us are in the journey to be healed spiritually, get that care. While doing that, sharing aspect is equally important. As we are receiving such help or knowledge from the sources like Bhagavad Gita, we are having the community. Krishna is blessing us to have the facility of ISKCON of DC, where we get to connect and then practice our bhakti yoga. But then at that same time, sharing it with others will also give the right motivation, inspiration. At the same time, when you are sharing, very platform right now, we are having this conversation with Dirgha ji here. So this sharing is benefiting all the viewers, right?
Right.
So same way, whoever is receiving this information will also be passing it on to the other people. So that's why coming together was a main agenda. And to come together, since we have people from all faith, and each faith has their own uh, way of connecting to the same energy of divinity. So
Right.
honoring that presence of divinity is something very, very beautiful. And that gave me motivation to be part of this interfaith meditation. And yes, we are trying to connect to all the scientists at NIH and take this practice ahead. And we are also, it's not just doing Hare Krishna Mahamantra chanting alone, but also to learn from other practice and take everybody together. However, only when one understand the philosophical aspects nicely, then they can acknowledge and admire and accept the practice of Mahamantra chanting in their life. So
Right.
there are levels, and each individual has their own journey. So there is always respect to each tradition, each practice, which is coming from different faith. So
Yeah,
that's,
yeah, because all of them are trying to help at some level, some sort. When
and
people
all of,
want to go much deeper in some way, then they will realize it. But because Dr. Gitanjali also shared earlier that she moved and worked with, associated with several kind of organization, and at some stage she realized, yeah, there is lacking something, and where I should see perfectly. Then she indeed and practicing this Vaishnava tradition under, yeah, Prabhupada mission.
broadly speaking, uh, yeah, like there are prominently four Vaishnava Sampradayas in India. I'm sure, like even in Nepal,
Yeah,
there must be Rudra Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, and then Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, which is Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, and Chatush Kumar Sampradaya. So if one goes in deeper and see, and in a higher level, it is about the mood of practice also, mood of service. So depending on which mood one connects, accordingly a person can connect to that particular faith. So here we basically gives the invitation to everyone to come and practice and you experience yourself what is your,
Right.
because just giving the recommendation or highlighting the big knowledge points will not be of any help unless
Right.
one get the practice and conviction within. uh, Keeping it on for life cannot happen. So yeah,
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all of those. We now the time is 11:13, close to midnight in US. We are recording, doing this live from the US. It may be different time in Nepal, India, and other part of world, but hope anyone will be accessible to through the my YouTube channel also, Learn with Dirgha. Later on, I will upload this in the YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Dr. Gita. If you have to share anything in summary, you can. Otherwise, we'll meet on next meeting.
I would say thank you very much for having the opportunity and having me here, and I appreciate your effort and sincerity to connect to other people's soul and also helping them with the spiritual life. Um, and the concluding point is all of us are very loving, sweet child of Supreme God. So each one of us has the right to go back and connect to Him. So don't miss
Right,
that opportunity, especially in the human body, where we also have enough intelligence to think about and make a choice of it.
right.
So,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Ram,
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Ram, Ram, Hare Hare.
Thank you.